Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Evidently, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle with the ASU strike.
You have done your work, you have put us to the wall. We are not your slaves.
I'm not a small boy. You should have given me the report.
I have not seen the report.
It's a great morning, no doubt about that. It's Tuesday, second weekday already. I mean, time flies. Just exactly 24 hours since we spoke yesterday and talked about several things regarding developments in our great country. Welcome to Global Morning. First of all, I'm Muyi Agumofwegbe. As always, we are delighted to come your way every weekday, Monday through Friday here on Global Television. We're live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. The strike by SANU and NASU, that is the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities, NASU, just entered the second day today. Recall that it started yesterday. And weeks before yesterday, both unions had said very clearly that their 7-day warning strike will commence on the 18th of March, and that actually they did make happen yesterday. We saw across TV channels, we saw in the course of news, we saw on pages of newspapers of how that the strike had grounded activities across public universities all over this country, including at the University of Abuja here in the nation's capital. But then it also raised questions about how we pay attention, or if any, how much of attention we pay to tertiary education, particularly as it has to do with university. Some people say, well, this is not making a lot of noise because it is not ASU, that is the Academic Staff Union of Universities, that called for this strike. While that may be very valid argument to advance, it is also very clear that as of yesterday, we knew for a fact that things went the same across campuses in this country, because we can't just pretend about the pivotal role that non-teaching staff play when it comes to the running of our universities in Nigeria. But it is also very worrisome. I mean, the loud silence of the government with regards to this strike. Like I mentioned very clearly yesterday, we haven't heard a word yet from Minister of Labor. Nothing has been said by Minister of Education or Minister of Education for State. So it raises concerns in terms of whether or not the government even sees this as a crucial issue that needs to be attended to, whether or not the government is paying attention to what exactly is happening right now. Because whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, it is non-academic staff who essentially conduct examinations, who essentially supervise examinations. I mean, their roles cannot be overemphasized as far as our education system, particularly the university system, is concerned. But then you're saying, let's hold on a second and ask ourselves, what exactly is the motivation for this strike? Why is this strike being called? Both SANU and NASU have said very categorically that, first of all, they are asking for the government to pay them their withheld salaries, that is, 4-month withheld salaries. They're asking for that. They're asking the government to backtrack to 2009 because there is an agreement between the federal government of Nigeria and the unions. I mean, plethora of the unions with regards to the university system. There's ASU, there's SANU, there's NASU, and a couple of more who are also stakeholders, very critical stakeholders in this 2009 agreement. And it's disturbing knowing that every time there is a strike that has to do with ASU, NASU, SANU, and other university-specific unions, it's interesting that the 2009 agreement between the federal government and the university unions would always become a very crucial talking point So you are asking yourself, hold on, why is it difficult, or why does it seem impossible for the government to be able to implement that agreement? Because from the standpoint of ASUU, for instance, they are saying that the government was supposed to be making available 200 billion every other year. That's a very critical strand in that agreement that was reached in 2009. So that's a very critical issue. That's a very concerning issue. I mean, I was in school at that time, so I was affected by that strike. Now, what's the point here? The point is that we can't continue to allow an agreement from 2009, 15 years ago, become an obstacle, a stumbling block in the progress of our university education, especially when we realize that this is something that has to directly do with the future of our leaders, I mean tomorrow's leaders, as we often call them. But again, this is one discussion that is not just going to end this morning on our show. So we're going to continue to push the narrative, but let's catch our breath for a few seconds as we join Fatime Umar to bring us Taste and Texture.
Hello and welcome to another heavenly episode on Taste and Texture. I'm Fatime Umar. Fufu is a popular food in West Africa. Fufu is often called a swallow. Fufu is not limited to plantains. Fufu can be made with a variety of starches like cocoyam, yam, cassava, oats, semolina. Each country and region tend to favor the crop that grows best in their climate. The starch is usually dried and turned into a powder, or boiled, so softened, then mashed and powdered over heat until it forms a smooth ball. Ingredients for fufu plantain: 2 green plantains. Instruction: peel your plantain by cutting off both ends and scoring along the length of your plantain several times. Cut into 1 to 1.5 inch rounds and add to a blender. Add 1 cup of water and blend until smooth. Pour the mixture into a saucepan over medium heat. Begin mixing and stirring your plantains until it begins to thicken. Continue stirring until the consistency is thick and dense. Then 1/4 cup of water and mix, allowing your plantain fufu to steam and cook fully. Keep an eye on the color change. You want it to go from greenish yellow to brownish yellow. Do not walk away. This is an engaging dish. Your fufu needs all your attention. If you're using a mold, add 1 teaspoon of water to a small bowl to cut the sides. Spoon a portion of the fufu into the bowl and let it cool. Set aside. Serve with your choice of stew or any vegetable soup and enjoy your meal. And now to the health benefits of plantain. Unripe plantain are extraordinarily healthful and versatile. Including them in your diet may lower your cholesterol, prevent anemia, and treat stomach ulcers. Antioxidant rich. Plantain contain a high concentration of antioxidants. Antioxidants are substances that aid in the fight against free radicals which cause oxidative damage to the body. Excellent diabetic food. Maintain blood pressure control. Plantains are high in potassium, a mineral that aids in treatment of hypertension. Its high fiber content aids in moving materials through the digestive tract, hence reducing constipation and colon cancer. Helps to prevent anemia. Plantains are high in iron, a mineral essential for the proper function of hemoglobin, a protein that transports oxygen in the blood. Beneficial during pregnancy. Plantains are also an excellent weaning food for newborns. They are easy to the stomach and mixed with millet, sorghum, and soybeans. This combination delivers all the nutrients necessary for a baby's development and growth. And lastly, it can stop ulcers. Many studies have shown that unripe plantain have phytochemical properties that, like leucocyanide, that can help prevent ulcer. That's all for now. See you same time next time.
Fatime Umar and Atsing will say a big thank you to you. There you have it, your food idea, culinary idea, whatever it is you want to do with it is now up to you. The recipe is is right in your hand. All right, so Fatima returns tomorrow with another brilliant idea for us to find a reason to go back to the kitchen. Okay, but for those who use voice and data services, I mean for those who use their devices, whether phones, tablets, and computers, all right, to make calls, to browse the internet, to access social media, and so on and so forth. You would have realized that since last week, Wednesday and Thursday in particular, it has been either total downtime, like a complete downtime, or it was some sort of skeletal service for voice and in particular for data. And that's stretched all the way into the weekend, and for some people even up till yesterday. And a lot of us got curious. We're asking what the reason was. And then we found out that it was actually something that had to do with some undersea cable that had been damaged. And then, of course, we're talking about a time in history where technology has evolved so much that we now have fiber optic infrastructure that supplies data and voice services, particularly data, across the continent and all over the world. But this particular one is such that it affected Nigeria, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, then some parts of South Africa. But then we understand that this particular damage was done around the coast of, the Ivory Coast area. All right, so it became an issue because, first of all, we are told that, by experts, that this cable is about 3 kilometers deep into the sea. So it's at the belly, all right, of the sea, at the very belly. And you know what that means? 3 kilometers, even 1 kilometer into the sea is quite some distance, let alone 3 kilometers. So you can only imagine, it's better imagine how protracted the process of, first of all, getting to lift it off to the face of the water will be, and then having to mobilize the right hands, people who have been trained in this area to fix a problem like this, tackle this kind of challenge. So you need experts, you need people with experience in that regard to do that. So we're told that, yes, while work is ongoing, engineers and all of the highly skilled technicians are working tooth and nail around the clock to ensure that the issue is resolved. It will take a couple of weeks, some say between 3 to 5 weeks, for full-fledged, perfect, or at least a near-perfect service to be restored for both voice and data, which actually will spill into April, maybe sometime between the middle and the end of it. But then we understand from what some telcos, that is some telecoms operators are now saying to us, that by today, both data and voice services would have been restored. But the question is, would it be what it was a week or two ago? We are not so sure of that, but we know as of today that most of us are able to access the internet now. We're able to make calls, receive calls, do a lot of the things that we normally do with our mobile devices. But while this problem lingered, while in the very heat of it, some Nigerians had said, look, it's a reminder that we must continue more than ever before to think homegrown solutions. For Nigeria in particular, for Africa in general, what they're saying, to put it in context, is that we cannot continue to rely on infrastructure, critical infrastructure, particularly as it has to do with internet and data, provided by some Europe-based company, some US-based company, some company based in Asia, and so on and so forth. And they are saying, let's be indigenously minded, let's be indigenously conscious of the kind of solutions that we'll provide, because when disaster strikes, it's going to be much more difficult to deal with the attendant problem if the solution itself was not originally provided by some indigenous entity, and so on and so forth. But again, that's a big conversation that's on the table, and the earlier Nigeria and, of course, Nigerians begin to look in that direction, begin to work in that direction, the better for us all. But let's also state very categorically that this same problem, we are told, had affected some parts of Portugal, which apparently is in Europe. So when we say the world is now more than ever before interconnected, or put it differently, the world is a global village. That's apparently what it means. But then we keep our fingers crossed and see how data and voice will be fully, in the real sense of the word, restored going forward, because we understand how this has affected not just individuals like you and I who use it maybe for personal purposes, but to look at enterprise impact of it, particularly for banks and other finance-focused businesses, how that it's decimated, all right, their capacity to be able to provide service on a large scale. And that, again, was not a good place to be. But let's believe that has improved in the last 24 to 48 hours, and we hope to see more improvements in that direction, because this is business. It ain't personal. All right, let's talk business for a minute with Kikelamo Okiri.
And welcome to Business Reports on Global Morning. Imported food inflation in Nigeria rose to its highest level, reaching 29.8% in February 2024, from 26.3% recorded in the previous month, which represents a 352 basis point increase. Further analysis shows that the imported inflation has increased consecutively for over 4 years, largely driven by both internal and external factors. The external factors include global supply chain shock following the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia-Ukraine war surge in global oil price, among others, while the domestic front is largely due to FX scarcity and subsequently depreciation of local currency. Accordingly, Naira depreciated by 37.7% and 17.3% in the month of January at the official market, and parallel markets to close at 1,456 Naira to $1 and 1,470 Naira to $1 respectively. Year to date, the Naira has depreciated by 43.4% and 24.7%, closes at 1,602 Naira to $1 and 1,614 Naira to $1 respectively. Nigerian oil market per barrel increased slightly in London trading, continuing the upward trend that began last week when the price surged by almost 4% on the belief that supply was contracting and the possibility of additional attack on Russia's energy infrastructure was raising concern. The May delivery of Brent crude oil futures increased by 40 basis points to $85.66 per barrel. The April contract for U.S. West Texas Intermediate was up to 0.5% at $85.74 per barrel on trade. The capital and operating costs associated with the producing Nigerian crude have risen steadily, hitting previous unheard of heights of more than $48 per barrel. The government can only share $37 per barrel of crude oil with oil companies since it sold at roughly those prices on the global market. Nigeria has one of the greatest costs of oil production in the world when compared to $9 in Saudi Arabia, $21 in Norway, or $24 for U.S. shale oil. A concerted effort to crack down to target attack and organized theft rings has led to Nigeria's oil production reaching its highest level in more than 3 years, despite the country's widespread problem with theft and sabotage. A detailed analysis of the murky and intricate trade in stolen Nigerian oil valued at $3 billion to $8 billion annually by Chatham House. The Houthi attack in the Red Sea forced fuel and crude carrier to reroute, lowering the amount of oil available to users. This was the fourth time since November that the agency is strengthening its demand outlook. The exchange rate for cargo clearance has dropped to 1,593 Naira to $1 from 1,612 Naira to $1 recorded last week, representing a drop of 18.87 Naira. Last week, the CBN, through the Customs Service, increased the exchange rate for the cargo clearance by 18 Naira to the prior figure. The drop in exchange rate for cargo clearance mirrors the recent strengthening of Naira on the forex market. The Naira closes as 1,602 Naira to a dollar on the last trading day, according to data from FMDQ. Kikelomo Okeri, Global Television News.
Thank you, Kikelomo Okeri, for bringing us some sort of snapshot of business, particularly from yesterday. So fingers are crossed. We're looking forward to seeing what the reports will be like today. But then, in the meantime, we understand that the depreciation of the Naira has shot imports bill to about 35 trillion, and that is worrisome because in the midst of all that, we see how inflation figures have shot all the way to more than 31% already. Question is, at what point are we going to get out of the woods, as they say? Is it going to get any better or any worse? But we do believe it will get better for Nigeria and indeed for Nigerians. But let's talk a little about a very sad incident that happened over the weekend from somewhere in Delta States, the south of the country. The sad story, very worrisome story of about 16 soldiers being killed and their bodies mutilated. We're told that they had been attacked by some gunmen, criminal elements, as some people would rather call them. Right? These were soldiers we are told had come into that community to ensure the safety of someone who had been kidnapped. And the next thing that happened was a gun battle between some gunmen and then these soldiers, and 16 of them lost their lives. They paid the price while they were in active service. It has created so much of sadness. It has been, again, a reminder of how that criminality must be fought to a standstill. But then the good thing is on Sunday, we understand the president had given his full authority to the military. So say, look, get everyone involved in this, everyone found culpable, everyone who played a part in it, who had a hand in it, all right, to book as quickly as possible. Of course, we have heard stories about reprisal and so on and so forth. The army has come out to debunk allegations of reprisal, but we had also seen videos of houses being set ablaze across a particular community because it was actually a clash between two communities that eventually led to this madness that has now taken the precious lives of 16 of our soldiers. We hope that we'll find closure as quickly as possible, but then the right thing must be done. Everyone who has played a part in it must face justice, as it's supposed to be, and we also hope that those who have been assigned this task do not victimize innocent citizens or people in those communities who haven't had a hand, who never had a hand in all of this. But it's a clarion call for us to ensure that as communities, we must continue to find ways to live in harmony. We don't have to agree on everything. We can disagree, yes, as long as we do that with some sort of decorum, without having to put people's lives in harm's way. That's very important. We understand that Samuel Odi has put together for us some of the latest stories from the ever interesting and exciting world of entertainment.
Wizkid has joined the growing list of top Nigerian artists distancing themselves with Afrobeat. The sound has increasingly gained global reaction over the past few years and showcased Nigerian talent on the biggest global stage. But Wizkid has spent the past 2 days announcing on his Instagram account that he's more than one sound. Shortly after announcing that his next album, Morayo, was done, He followed it up with a series of posts including, "I am not an Afrobeat artist. I am not Afrobeat anything." Many critics immediately labeled that the rant is a ploy to promote the new album and condemned the damage his posturing could cause the further advancement of the sound, but the superstar did not relent. He made a long post explaining why he shouldn't be called an Afrobeat artist. "I make other kinds of music," the music star wrote. "Listen, am I an African? Yes, but I do make other sorts of music, fine music. But I don't want this label just Afrobeats. That's like saying every American artist makes rap." He later added, "Made in Lagos is not an Afrobeat album. That's a fusion of different sounds." Wizkid also appeared to be bothered about the Afrobeats categorization can affect his chance during awards season. He wrote, "This is why no matter how good or amazing we make, be it R&B or whatever genre, we all get nominated in one African category or the other. I have made songs from different genres of music." Wizkid also appeared to be bothered by the origin of Afrobeat, tagged clearly disagrees with it. Nigerian singer Joshua Inyazu, popularly known as Solista, is all about healthy living. The singer said that he has stopped smoking and drinking alcohol after years of struggle. "I am very well and healthy now. I have been out of the hospital for the past 4 months, but I am still taking my medication. I no longer smoke or take alcohol. I keep everything plain now," he says. Recall in 2023, Nigerians were thrown into a state of worry after a viral video captured the singer on the streets. He says he is in a better place now and working on a new music for his fans. Highlighting some lessons he learned, he added, "I have learned not to always be by myself because communication is very important," he stated. "I was always by myself, so I became depressed and I started seeing people around me as enemies. I have learned to love and be positive." The singer expressed his gratitude for the unwavering support he received from loved ones during his time in the hospital. That's that on entertainment news. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Well, thank you, Samuel, for that entertainment package right there. We're taking a quick break, everyone. When we return right after the AM news, we'll get our conversations on the road. Don't go away.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Express AM on Global Television. We are live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. President Bola Tinubu has met the leadership of the Edo State chapter of the All Progressives Congress at the State House, Abuja. The meeting was meant to address disagreements brewing in Edo APC for weeks now and officially presents the party's flag to its candidate in the September 2024 governorship election. Monday, Okpebholo and his running mate, Dennis Idahosa, the delegation was led to the villa by the APC chairman, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, while the full details of the closed-door talks remain unclear. Idahosa has been asked to withdraw his court case against Okpebholo's candidature. The federal government of Nigeria extended its condolences to the government and people of the Republic of Ghana over the demise of its High Commissioner to Nigeria, His Excellency Rashid Bawa, reportedly died in Abuja on Thursday after a brief illness. The federal government, in a statement signed by the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Francisca Omayuli, said the late Bawa will be missed greatly. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, has said that the federal government has dispensed 12.7 billion to offer meters in army barracks across the country. Adelabu said the amount is from the 40 billion naira earmarked for the mass metering project, according to a statement by his special advisor in strategic communications and media relations, Bolaji Tunji. The minister made this known during the flag off of the headquarters of the 9th Brigade of the Nigerian Army, Ikeja Military Cantonment, Lagos State. Said the exercise will be in phases. He said the Ikeja Cantonment is the first phase of the exercise, which would last for 6 weeks before the second phase commences. Federal Capital Territory FCT Minister Ezenwo Nyesom Wike has ordered the immediate reshuffling of directors across secretariats, departments, and agencies of the FCT administration. Wike gave the directive at the swearing-in of the pioneer head of service, permanent secretaries of the FCTA chairman, and members of the FCT Civil Service Commission. The minister, who said the move is with immediate effect, also told the new appointees to perform according to expectations or be sacked. Members of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities and the Non-Academic Staff Union have begun a nationwide strike over alleged unfair treatment and disparity in the payment of salaries by the federal government. Last Monday, the unions threatened to shut down hostels and power supply in universities across the country if the federal government fails to meet its demands before March 18, 2024. National President of SSANU, Mohammed Ibrahim, said his members, including vice-chancellors, registrars, and bosses, have not been paid 2022 arrears. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress, APC, has settled for Honorable Dennis Idahosa as a governorship candidate in the September 21 Edo governorship election. APC National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje and National Secretary Senator Ajibola Bashiru are to present Senator Monday Okpebholo, the party's flag bearer, and his running mate to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the villa today. Idahosa is to replace Honorable Morege Ogbeide Hama, who was announced by the governorship candidate last week as his running mate. The 8 lawmakers suspended by the Zamfara State House of Assembly said they had been hounded out of the state by political talks for exposing the increasing wave of insecurity in the state. They also said the House had written to them to return their official vehicles to the clerk. While addressing a press conference in Zaria, Kaduna State, the lawmakers alleged that some security agents had been sent to hunt them without any reason, a situation which made them go into hiding. Bashir Aliyu, who spoke on behalf of the suspended lawmakers, said they would not be silenced until action was taken to tame the high level of insecurity in Zamfara. The Nigerian army has confirmed the killing of its officers who were on a peacekeeping mission to 2 warring communities in Delta State. Those who lost their lives include a lieutenant colonel, 2 majors, 1 captain, and 12 soldiers. While confirming the incident, the Director, Defense Information, Brigadier General Tukur Gusau, says the unfortunate incident occurred when the troops responded to a distress call after the communal crisis between the Okwama and Okoloba communities, both in Delta State. The reinforcement team, led by the commanding officer, was also attacked, leading to the death of the commanding officer, 2 majors, 1 captain, and 12 soldiers. Moving on, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has called on state government in Adamawa, Bauchi, and Gombe to put in place better social policy as a way of tackling the child poverty. The UN agency made the call during a 2-day meeting held in Gombe, organized by the Bauchi field office of UNICEF, with experts in social policy as well as journalists from the 3 states. During the meeting, the participants were exposed to issues that trigger child poverty, which has become a major threat to children's well-being and future. UNICEF social policy specialist Dr. Yusuf Alter made a presentation on child poverty and its drivers, as well as the multidimensional child poverty in Adamawa, Bauchi, and Gombe states, using recent poverty statistics as it affects children. In a bid to ensure compliance to environmental laws, the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, NERSRA, had closed down 13 facilities. The Director General, NERSRA, Aliyu Jaro, during an enforcement exercise and press briefing on Friday in Abuja, said the facilities were locked down due to refusal to heed to warnings from the agency and violation of extant regulations. The DG, who was represented by the Director of Inspection and Enforcement, Abdul Salam Isa, said the enforcement was part of the agency's key performance indicator, KPI, to ensure compliance. The agency observed that some of the facilities' earlier seals had broken the federal government seals. However, such facilities had to face punitive measures for their actions. In compliance with the directive of President Bola Tinubu on immediate reopening of land border with Niger Republic, the Controller, Nigeria Customs Service, Kebbi State Command, Iheanacho Ojike, has reopened Kamba land border. While reopening the border, Ojike says Kamba is a strategic border with a major share in Kebbi State revenue generation. The border reopening is aimed at paving the way for legitimate trade that will impact positively on nation building, not permission for importation of prohibited items that will threaten the economy and compromise national security. You're watching the AM News, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. When the AM News returns, federal government offers 450 billion naira bonds to investors. This and other stories coming right after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, if you've just joined us, this is Global Television, bringing you live broadcast of the AM News. On the foreign scene, North Korea fired a ballistic missile, Seoul's military say, as U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken visited South Korea to meet top officials and attend the Democracy Summit. Blinken is in Seoul for the 3rd Summit for Democracy, an initiative of U.S. President Joe Biden, which the South is hosting this week, and is set to meet his Korean counterpart on the sidelines for talks. Key security allies Washington and Seoul wrapped up one of their major annual joint military training exercises last week, prompting angry retorts and tit-for-tat drills from nuclear-armed Pyongyang. Japan also confirmed the launch with the Japan Coast Guard, saying the object appeared to have already fallen. Key Russian ally, China congratulated President Vladimir Putin on his election victory, with 99% of polling stations having submitted results. Putin had secured 87.33% of all votes cast, official election data showed Monday. According to state news agency RIA, it was a record victory for Putin in a presidential election where he faced no genuine competition. Putin heaped praise on Beijing, saying he was sure that in the coming years they will only strengthen and build up their relations and achieve common successes for the benefit of the Chinese and Russian peoples. Britain's Foreign Minister David Cameron says the result of the Russian election showed the depth of repression under President Vladimir Putin. The Kremlin praised Putin's landslide re-election for a fifth term in office as eloquent confirmation of the people's support. But Cameron, who on Sunday evening said the election was neither free nor fair, dismissed the poll outcome as undemocratic. The Kremlin has presented the weekend election marred by ballot spoilers and Ukrainian bombardment of border regions as proof Russians backed Putin's assault on Ukraine. Cameron also cited the death of Putin's main political rival, Alexei Navalny, as evidence of the extent of Putin's repression. Meanwhile, France said the election that extended Russian President Vladimir Putin's rule for another 6 years took place amid repression and hailed the many Russians who demonstrated their opposition. The French Foreign Ministry said Paris had taken note of the expected outcome of the three-day polls, which saw Putin obtain fifth term in the Kremlin. The 71-year-old Russian leader, who has been in power since 2000, ran unopposed by any serious rival, and after his most vocal critic, Alexei Navalny, died suddenly in an Arctic prison last month. Now over to business. The stock market sustained bullish trend last week as investors in the Nigerian Exchange Limited NGX gained 2.1 trillion naira. Though the market recorded mixed sentiment, the gains outweighed the losses as the NGX market capitalization, which represents the total value of investment on the exchange, surged to 59.416 trillion naira at the close of trading on Friday from 57.293 trillion naira the previous week. In similar manner, another stock market performance indicator, NGX All Share Index, ASI, increased by 3.7% to 101,085.22 points from 101,330.85 points. The Nigerian Army has expressed concern about the inadequate power supply in the Ikeja military cantonment, Lagos. This is as the federal government allocated 12.7 billion naira for the mass metering project in all army formations. Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu spoke during the flag-off of the metering exercise at the headquarters of the 9th Brigade of the Nigerian Army Ikeja military cantonment. According to a statement by his media aide Bolaji Tunji, Adelabu explained that the current exercise, the sum of 12.7 billion naira has been released out of a total of 40 billion naira for the mass metering project. The minister had stated that the mass metering in army formations nationwide will enable and enhance monthly appropriate billings and ease collections, adding that the overall intention is to make estimated billing a theme of the past. Moving on, the federal government is seeking to raise 450 billion naira from the investing public in a new debt issuance aimed at bridging government's deficit and deepening the domestic capital market. It was learned the Debt Management Office, DMO, which oversees the issuance and management of Nigeria's sovereign debts, will conduct a primary market auction, PMA, for 3 issuances through which it aimed to raise the funds. The 3 bonds and offer included a new issuance of 3-year FGN March 2027 and reopening of the 7-year 18.50% FGN February 2031 and the 10-year 19% FGN February 2034 bonds. The federal government has provided clarifications regarding the recent Memorandum of Understanding between the Ministry of Transportation and MPH Rail Development Limited, a construction firm from the United Kingdom. According to the government, the agreement is not considered binding. This follows recent reports stating that the FG entered into a Memorandum of Understanding with an unknown company. The International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, says it's committed to collaborating with the international community in addressing Nigeria's food and nutrition challenges. Dr. Donald Brown, IFAD Associate Vice President, Rome, made known at the International News Conference in Abuja, says the mission was to deepen IFAD's partnership with the federal government and also support government efforts at food system transformation. According to him, the gesture is geared towards food and nutrition security, improved livelihoods of smallholder farmers, and inclusive agro-industrialization. He further says IFAD worked in rural communities with smallholder farmers to improve food security and agriculture, adding that the organization had strong partnership with government. He assured that the organization will design a new project to support the government's food production value chain and climate adaptation. The leaders of the Fulani nationals in Nigeria, expressing concern over the challenges faced by pastoralists, have issued a stern warning threatening to halt the sales of livestock nationwide if their grievances are not addressed. The communique, issued at the end of the Fulbe National Security Summit, organized by the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MACBAN, was presented by the national president of MACBAN, Baba Uthman Ngilzama. Ngilzama emphasized that pastoralists have been unfairly targeted for crimes in the country, joined by leaders of Tabita Polaku International and Fulbe Global Development and Rights Initiative. Ngilzama alleged that the government has not made significant progress in addressing the root causes of the current conflict and the challenges faced by the Fulani community. Let's now join Kike Lomo Okere for more updates and business news.
Hello and welcome to Business Report on Prime News. Imported food inflation in Nigeria rose to its highest level, reaching 29.8% in February 2024, from 26.3% recorded in the previous month, which represents a 352 basis point increase. Further analysis shows that the imported inflation has increased consecutively for over 4 years, largely driven by both internal and external factors. The external factors include global supply chain shock following the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia-Ukraine war surge in global oil price, among others, while the domestic front is largely due to FX scarcity and subsequently depreciation of local currency. Accordingly, Naira depreciated by 37.7% and 17.3% in the month of January at the official markets, and parallel markets to close at 1,456 Naira to a dollar and 1,470 Naira to a dollar, respectively. Year to date, the Naira has depreciated by 43.4% and 24.7%, closes at 1,602 Naira to a dollar and 1,614 Naira to a dollar, respectively. Nigerian oil market per barrel increased slightly in London trading, continuing the upward trend that began last week when the price surged by almost 4% on the belief that supply was contracting and the possibility of additional attack on Russia's energy infrastructure was raising concern. The May delivery of Brent crude oil futures increased by 40 basis points to $85.66 per barrel. The April contract for U.S. West Texas Intermediate was up to 0.5% at $85.74 per barrel on trade. The capital and operating costs associated with the producing Nigerian crude have risen steadily, hitting previous unheard of heights of more than $48 per barrel. The government can only share 37 per barrel of crude oil with oil companies since it sold at roughly those prices on the global market. Nigeria has one of the greatest costs of oil production in the world when compared to $9 in Saudi Arabia, $21 in Norway, or $24 for U.S. shale oil. A concerted effort to crack down to target attack and organized theft rings has led to Nigeria's oil production reaching its highest level in more than 3 years, despite the country's widespread problem with theft and sabotage. A detailed analysis of the murky and intricate trade in stolen Nigerian oil valued at $3 billion to $8 billion annually by Chatham House. The Houthi attack in the Red Sea forced fuel and crude carrier to reroute, lowering the amount of oil available to users. This was the fourth time since November that the agency is strengthening its demand outlook. The exchange rate for cargo clearance has dropped to 1,593 naira to $1 from 1,612 naira to $1 recorded last week, representing a drop of 18.87 naira. Last week, the CBN, through the Customs Service, increased the exchange rate for the cargo clearance by 18 naira to the prior figure. The drop in exchange rate for cargo clearance mirrors the recent strengthening of naira on the forex market. The naira closes as 1,602 naira to $1 on the last trading day, according to data from FMDQ. Kikelomo Okeri, Global Television News.
And that's it on the AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Don't forget, we're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.